And we are back here once again with another episode of the MSK show. And this is going to be a segment that I do on the MSK show, which is Content Creator Spotlight presenting X person. So, as you guys know, for myself, I've been doing podcasts for a very, very long time. And primarily, what I'm strictly known for is the one on ones that I do. I primarily love talking to content creators or, authors, writers, anyone that will basically just have a one on one with me and talk to me on the show. But I feel like I've never been able to actually present that said person in the one-on-one in the best way. So starting with the MSK show, and since we are on episode 2 after our introduction episode, which was last night, the way you guys see one-on-ones as they are titled, we're going to spotlight the creator, and then we're going to title their first appearances or second appearances if they make recurring appearances on the show. And the first creator I'll have on for Content Creator Spotlight for the MSK show is Draken Blaze. What's up, man? How you doing?
I am good. Wait, I'm the first on your show?
Well, the first one of this show. So technically you're like let's just say you're one of my choices, let's just say.
Woo! A for effort.
Yeah. So since this is your first appearance on the show, and people might not know who you are, as with all superheroes, or even you have Goku Black in your profile picture, in blue, which is crazy. We'll start with your origin story. So, how was your life growing up, actually?
Oh, well, my life was pretty good. I lived it was pretty average right up until like the last year of high school, and I had something really tragic happen, and it changed me in many ways. And gaming was one of the ways that I was able to cope with a lot of things. For me, I was really young when I started gaming, and then I jumped into Halo with my dad, who introduced me to it. I just came down. I remember coming downstairs, and I was like, "Ooh, Dad, what's that game you're playing?" And I just watched him, played it, and that was my intro into gaming. And here I am, at least 29 years later, and oh my gosh, it's been a journey.
29 years later. Holy crap. So,
Well, I'm
how old
29
are you?
years. Well, okay, I fluffed it right there. I'm 29 years old, but when I started playing Halo, I was about don't nobody get mad at me. I was about 8
You're about 8 years old. Oh,
when I
okay.
was playing Halo,
So
and
you've been in the gaming ever since you were a kid, essentially.
pretty much.
Okay. All right. So later on, how did you ever get into like creating content? What was the inspiration for that? Did you watch like Ninja and you're like, I gotta be this guy?
Actually, what led me to Twitch and to the streaming community was just other streamers. I was looking for people to play games with, and I started out playing my first MMO, which was Star Wars: The Old Republic. And then someone on the server that I was on at that time pointed me to Twitch. So I went on Twitch, then started looking at other people playing games, and I was like, "Ooh, this is cool. I wanna, if I could do it." And after like watching a couple people streaming and playing games and building a community, I was like, I want to build a community of my own of like-minded people. And I got a laptop and a monitor, and I started streaming some MMOs.
Okay. So you've been doing the streaming thing for how long, actually?
It has now been at least 5 years.
Okay. So compared to when you first started versus where you're at now, what is the advice you could give to someone when they have aspirations for wanting to do what you're doing? Just, on like on a hobby basic level, actually.
It really would be baby steps, because I know
Mhm.
some people had like friends and family who were already on platforms like that, and they were just helping them out. I came on and I had nobody. It took me building bridges, forming connections, going to other people's streams, and chatting with their communities, asking them for advice, asking the streamers themselves for advice on if um, if and what I should be doing as an up and coming streamer. And then I just kept going. I just started and just started doing little steps here and there, building myself up. I was swapping softwares here and there for streaming setups, and I guess like to round it all up, the best thing I can quote is David from Prometheus: "Big things have small beginnings," and literally, like I said, it started with a laptop and a monitor, and it went to me having Xbox Series X, PS5, PC, And now I'm just playing multiple games across
Mhm.
everything, and I'm enjoying it. It's really fun. It's a nice hobby.
So you've been doing Twitch for a long time. So you know how you have these points of being a content creator where you feel
Mhm.
like nothing you're doing is working because you're not really gaining any traction. How do you like what would be the advice you would give someone when they're at like a low point in their content creation career? How do you like get past it?
Stream for yourself. Stream for those who are going to be watching you down the line, not just those who you're trying to watch right now. Because we're all not going to be like Ninja and all of those big high people. Well, even they started small with like one person watching your stream. Like ask your parents or your siblings or your friends, hey, can you jump into my stream? I'm playing some games, and see what happens. And if they don't come and it's just one person watching your stream, then entertain that one person. But pretend like your younger self is watching you on your stream, all excited, all giddy, going, "Ooh, look, this person's streaming. I can't wait to see his gameplay," or him chatting about random stuff.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's also pretty good advice for people because like sometimes, people have these moments when they're doing this where they're like, I don't know what else I can do to improve. It's not even really just about improving. It's just, not everyone is going to be growing at the same rate because like at the end of the day, this is all kind of a numbers game anyway.
Hmm.
I don't even still say you'll get there when you get there. It's more like, I do genuinely think if you are consistent at it, you will get some traction because I don't really know what people want out of it most of the time. It feels like when you start doing it and you do it for a long time, people want to get to like, oh, I can do this for a job. But like, people got to factor in that's like not really going to be the case for a lot of people because if people always tend to look at like the highest people for anything like this, and then they don't realize this is like giant middle ground of people, and more or less so we're gonna be in that middle ground probably forever. We're not
Hmm.
gonna be like hot, sexy Twitch babes or OnlyFans thoughts just getting fucked and making a lot of money
Man,
or getting millions of dollars actually, because you never know about that. I might be a underwear model, people. You never know.
you might be the next Calvin Clyde.
All right, that's just lying to me. You son of a
You never know. But
bitch.
I mean, I just look at all of that and I see all of those people who are high up, and I'm just like, okay, I don't know if I want to be that. I just want to build a nice community of people who are doing or enjoy the same things that I do, and
Yeah,
just converse and just enjoy what life gives me. Because I mean, I'm not trying to just be the next ninja. That some people might do that. I don't want to do that because there's a life
yeah.
for me outside of streaming and
You have a
outside of
life outside of
gaming.
this? Crazy. No way.
I know, right? Some
You
people have
actually
actually come onto my stream and asked me, "Hey, aren't you gonna go full time streaming?" And I'm like, no." They're like, "Why not?" And I'm like, "Cause I got a full time job and I enjoy doing that."
The only
And
reason
I,
why I couldn't do it, man, is because do you have this thing in life where at some point something bad's gonna happen in the back of your head? So like if you were to do this full time, at some point something would happen, like Twitch would randomly ban you for a week. Because Twitch's first bans are like 2 weeks, or like randomly maybe they might terminate your account. I have
hmm,
way too much like things in the back of my head where I'm thinking like, if I did do this for a, like a job, at some point I feel like something would happen. I just can't. It feels like a situation where you put too many eggs in your basket kind of thing. Like I just can't do it honestly. I
yeah,
don't.
I can't do it either because of some things that are going on in my life. But I give a massive praise and shout out to those that do, because that's a lot of work that's put in, more than what I do. They got to be posting every hour, every minute. Some things got to be posted on Twitter, TikTok, something. They got to be streaming. Got to do marathons. Got to get those sponsorships. And if you don't, then from what I see, you're just kind of screwed.
Yeah. The other thing you mentioned there, people have to do is, try to be yourself most of the time. Like, and whatever audience you have, make sure that they feel that you're being authentic.
Hmm.
Too many times I've been I've been around for YouTube for ever since it was like the beginning, but I've been doing content creation since October 2015. So I've
Ooh,
seen so many people.
congratulations.
Yeah, I've seen so many people do content up and down. I think what people have to understand is what you said earlier. Try to define it basically based off how much effort you want to put into it. Try to see if you want to do it for a hobby or if you want to take it a little bit more serious to get a lot more results. Because I feel like when people take it for a hobby, which is not bad initially up front, they get results and they don't like the results they got. And it's like, well, yeah, if you're treating it like a hobby, then that's kind of the results you get. But if you take it a little bit more seriously, and not as far as like change yourself, maybe change up like how you do videos, maybe change up, certain things here and there. Maybe you consistently do it more, because people got to factor in, if someone is putting in like 5 days a week streaming and also videos on that, and if you're just the guy doing it like, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, well, if that person ends up getting more results than you, well, that's just kind of like how that should work, right? The person doing the most work should be the most beneficial ones of it, right? That's kind of the way I usually think of it. But then again, there's people that like stream 3 times a week and they're just doing so good. I don't even know what's going on with my logic anymore. So I'll ask you, growing up, what were some things you enjoyed? Because I know from your profile, you like Star Wars a lot, right?
Yeah, that was one of the aspects. That was one of the aspects things that I loved. I also loved, because as you can see from my photo, Dragon Ball and Mortal Kombat. And I sort of, when I was building my profile picture that you see, then I incorporated a lot of those things into that.
Yeah.
And those three things influenced my life the most. Star Wars being, you got even a small farm boy can become big and major,
Yeah.
and to the point of like blowing up a freaking Death Star, standing against an empire. A fucking farm boy standing up against an empire. And Dragon Ball was the blue hair, of course, Goku and Vegeta standing up against tyrants. And even though they're just losing, lose, eventually they win, because it's not about how who's stronger. It's about what your strategy is going into the fight. And thus, you have to have that clairvoyance of mind. Same with Mortal Kombat. I mean, even with all the games and stuff that have come out, then it's really just the journey that matters most, and the journey, the clairvoyance of mind, and then someone small just standing up, and it just impacted me a lot. And thus, my character that you see was designed off of that, as well as some other little things here and there.
Okay, so for Star Wars, obviously most people love the original trilogy.
Uh-huh.
How do you feel about the prequels? Because I'll be honest with you, man. I watched these because growing up, I thought Star Wars was for nerds, and obviously it is. It's not for chads like myself. So I watched every single Star Wars movie from the start to finish in 2021, when we were still technically on lockdown with that thing that we were supposed to be scared of, right?
Yeah.
I did watch The Last Jedi first, because my friend had got an extra ticket and I had a date that night, and I was like, you know what? I don't even like this stuff, but I'll just go. It's a free movie. So how can I say no to free? I'm black, CNN. They didn't lie about that, about black people. So I went and watched The Last Jedi, and I thought I probably saw the worst movie I've ever seen. Now, to be fair, a little hyperbolic there, but I do believe the movie's a steaming pile of shit.
No, we all have our opinions on it, and my opinion is pretty much on point with that, because I mean, I liked the prequel saga. I really did. It really was good, and it's set to say this is the circle completing itself. Started it with backwards a little bit, episode 4, 5, 6. Then we went with 1, 2, 3 because George Lucas couldn't do 1, 2, and 3 the way he envisioned it. And then when he could, then he was able to do it. And I liked it for what it was. Revenge of the Sith, that was hands down my favorite out of the 3. And then out of 4, 5, 6, of course, Empire Strikes Back, of course, because everyone loved that goddamn movie. Luke, I am your father.
Yeah.
But great movie, 7, 8, and 9, I just looked at that as a Star Wars fan, and I was like, why?
Well, before that, I'll ask you: did you grow up you grew up at the time where Toonami would play the Clone Wars, right?
Yes, I did. The original Clone Wars.
Yeah. So, like, when people have to factor in, for like, let's say normies or casuals, for example, right? They only watch the movies. Let's be honest, for most casuals didn't go read books or comics. They kind of just only saw the movies. So for a lot of people, the only Star Wars content they got was they did a Clone Wars movie, there was video games, and then they did the Clone Wars series. So like the only thing Star Wars related, like anything, on the big screen, was just the Clone Wars for a while, until Disney bought it and they put out the their let's just say their vision of Star Wars, which is yikes.
I will say that for me, then I did not like their vision of Star Wars, because they had an expanded timeline of stuff that could go and span ages, and they chucked it in the trash and said we're gonna do it ourselves.
Dude, there is this comic series. It's the sequel after Return of the Jedi called like the New Empire Republic, whatever it's called.
Mm-hmm.
That truly is an idea that they could have just went with. They literally could have just did that right after, but they went with like. I'll be honest with you, dude. I don't care for that character, like that actress, that much. Daisy Ridley. I saw her in Switched at Birth. She was in a, it was a teen drama series, but I saw
Yeah.
her in that, and I was like, wait a minute, isn't that Daisy Ridley? Because I didn't know she was Regs. I wasn't a Star Wars fan, so I didn't care, honestly. And I was like, man, she is trash. She was trash in that show. She's trash in these movies. People say, well, she wasn't acting that bad. It was just the way they wrote her. No, she acted like crap. Her acting was terrible. All the characters were bad. Rey sucks. Poe sucks. Whoever the fuck Oscar Isaac was playing, he's just completely forgettable. I don't know what he was doing in the movies.
You touched on a point that I brought up on when I was first saw episode 7. I was like, okay, you marketed that completely and utterly wrong, because I was left with the impression Finn was gonna be a freaking Jedi. And then I'm coming on watching it, and it's just him screaming every 5 minutes, Rey! And I'm like, what? And I'm looking at it going, what is this? And then Rey is somehow this badass person. Now, I had no problem with Rey as a whole in 7, if they explained her character right. Because I was like, okay, out of everything you could have explained her to be, you could have said, oh, she trained herself, she taught herself how to defend herself on Jakku and all of this stuff, and she was able to learn by using her staff, and after all of those years, and instead they came out and said she's strong because she's a woman. And I was like, okay, is that it? And they said yes, and I'm like, that's not a good thing. No disrespect on Daisy Ridley, because I did like some of her acting, because some of her characters in the shows, they really made me hate the character, and and I respect that, because it takes a lot for me to hate a character in a show or movie.
For me, when it comes down to most of the characters, the sentiment around them is that like Rey's a Mary Sue, she's a trash character, and people only really talk about Finn for an idea that Disney kind of half-ass did for him. Like Finn himself is not even really that good of a character. People only really mention that. What you just said right there is the whole Jedi Stormtrooper thing. But Finn as a character is pretty useless throughout most of the movies. They sideline him in Last Jedi with that one girl, the Asian lady.
Rose.
And then Rose, yeah. And then in the third movie, I don't even know what he was doing. He was riding a horse in the vacuum of space. Like, they were riding horses on a spaceship.
Now, I will admit that the cavalry charge, that was pretty cool, but and they were riding on the ships, but then I was just looking at it going,
I was a horse running in the vacuum of space.
Well, technically, they were trying to stop the ships, the entire Imperial fleet, from going up into the atmosphere, and they were still on planet side. Now, if they were going into space, then they'd be burned to a toast. But
and then guess what we're hearing now? So, if you guys have been living under a rock, or you've been living inside of a potato, which is most New York and California apartments, there's supposed to be a Rey Solo movie. The announced director was Charmin Oboy Chino, something like that. And come to find out, about a few days ago, that movie's on hold right now. From the report from Daniel RPK, it was basically along the lines of needs more work, which basically means it's crap.
I had a problem with how they set up episode 9, which was going to lead into that, was somehow Rey being pregnant, and I was like, pregnant how? Unless you're telling me that somehow Kylo Ren, Ben Solo, was able to impregnate her as a ghost.
Yeah, like, man, or even Adam Driver's character, he was just like, I don't even know what he's supposed to be. Like, the acting was good. I feel like he was the only person really giving any effort. But even his character toward the end was like, okay, are you gonna be a bad guy? Are you one of those conflicted like anti-heroes? And then I remember watching the final movie, and it was just, wow, that was a steaming pile of shit.
I will say that out of all of them, for me personally, and I'm sorry to interrupt, I would say that for me, episode 7, I was like, okay, that was pretty good. Let's see what they do next. Episode 8, I'm like, what the hell is this? This is garbage. This is hot garbage. And yeah, I mean, I will also say that I was one of the people that also did protest because of a Solo movie. I did see it eventually, but I was like, that I didn't even want to see it. But episode 9, I think that the saving grace for that movie really was J.J. Abrams. That was one of the very only rare things that got me to go see the movie, and I was walking away going, okay, it was all right. But
You know
I
what
liked
threw
all
me
of
off?
them. Wait, what?
You know what threw me off? Which was he kisses her, he can bring her back to life, and then like she kisses him, he dies. I was like, so you're basically saying women are the cause of men's death. Like, what is this? What movie are we watching?
I don't even know what that last scene
Oh, remember
was,
the
and I'm not
last
gonna say
part
it was
where they
that,
copied
but
Endgame, where she was
yeah.
like, "I'm all the Jedi." I was like, "Okay, that got straight ripped off of Endgame. What are you
See,
doing?"
I have a problem with that because the whole point of episode 3 was retconned. Anakin was trying to save his wife Padme from death, and he had a clear chance to do it and save her from death. And now all of a sudden, oh, there's such a thing called force heal, and it's like, and I was like, so you're telling me that he couldn't have done that this whole time, and everyone pretty much lied to him? Thank you, Disney.
So for the other movies, how do you feel about Rogue One? Do you feel like
I
it's the
actually
best
like
movie
that
they created?
movie. I
Yeah.
think it was a breath of fresh air away from the Jedi and the Sith, and it was just a classic heist movie. And yeah, they all didn't make it. None of them made it out alive, but they all had a role to play, and they all fulfilled that role. And then I'm not even gonna quote it. It was everyone I think admits it. It was badass when we saw the Vader hallway scene, where we actually got to see the
Yeah.
Vader that we all saw from the comics, which was
Mhm.
badass. And then the only time we saw that after that was Obi-Wan, where he was killing everyone in the damn village.
Like once they said we have to get these schematics to Leia, I was like, wait a minute, these are the characters that die because they referenced that in episode 4. I was like, oh
Uh-huh.
wait, I was like, crap, all these guys are about to die.
The moment that that scene came on,
Yeah.
I was like, all right, episode 4, let's go.
So
I had
you
to go
you
put it on
you,
now.
you didn't see Solo, right? That movie,
I
you
did
didn't
see
see it.
Solo.
What did you think about it?
I liked it up to a point because it
I
made
didn't think it
me
was
like,
as bad as people made it out to be. I thought it's like one of those really just dumb, forgettable movies. But it's not like insulting or bad. It's just the way that he got his name is stupid, you know?
I didn't like how he was trying to present himself as, hey,
Yeah.
look, everyone, I did the Kessel Run in this amount of time. And I was like, bro, I think everyone knows already. But I did like the reveal that they did at the end. And I was hoping, and still am hoping, Disney, if you're listening to this, I still am hoping that you give us more Kira and Darth Maul. Oh, sorry, just Maul. To see him like sitting there with the Crimson Suns. That actually was, I did like that.
What about The Mandalorian? Did you watch all those seasons?
I watched season 1 and 2. I saw most of season 3, and also I correct myself. I meant the Crimson Dawn. That was Maul's organization. But yeah, I liked season 1. I liked season 2. I did the moment that he walked through that door in season 1, decked out in that shiny new Beskar armor. I was sitting there going, he just made himself fucking Iron Man. And then season 2, that was also pretty good. And then we got that Luke Skywalker variant, which I think they did the CGI a little wrong. They weren't ready, but I was happy with what they did. I know they fixed it with was it Ahsoka? No, it wasn't Ahsoka. Whatever that one, Book of Boba Fett. They fixed it a little bit more with that, and it looked more like him. And then Mandalorian season 3, I don't know what that was.
They had to live somewhere in an episode. I don't think they knew anything either. For me, the only shows I watched were the Book of Boba Fett. I thought that was just yikes. That was just like bad is not is an understatement. That was just that might have been one of the most boring shows I ever seen in my life. Just actually just straight up trash. And then midway through the season, they swap him out with a more popular character at the time, and then they brought him back. Like, what are we doing? And then Obi-Wan, after Obi-Wan came out as bad as it did, I was like, I'll take a break from watching these shows.
I
Because
liked
Rise of
Obi-Wan for
Andor
what it
came.
was a little bit.
Just a little bit?
Just a bit. And then for Book of Boba Fett, I think after that Power Ranger episode, that they were like, we need to get everyone to come back. What got everyone to like this in the first place? Mando. Throw Mando in there.
Mm-hmm. What
And then
about Andor? Did you see Andor?
I really liked Andor. Again,
Mm-hmm.
another breath of fresh air,
Mm-hmm.
another smuggler slash operation type storyline, James Bond type, and it was nice. And I really actually took me a little off guard when he was being promised like or propositioned to join the rebellion, and he said nope, and he walked away, and ended up in jail. And I was like, oh, usually everyone's like, oh yeah, he's gonna join, and he just said nope, walked away. Give my money, I'm out.
So the other thing that recently came out for Star Wars, did you watch The Acolyte?
I did, and I think it really hit peak for me when
Like, think in terms
the
of
no
bad.
name Sith started to come out and start hacking all of the Jedi down. And
Ugh.
aside from that, then I was like, I don't know what this is. I don't really care. Somebody kill someone, please.
For the whole show, you were just like, why am I watching this? This
I
might
I
be
was one of the
trash.
people who, when I remember when Disney first asked all of us, what do you all want to see? Do you want to see High Republic, Old Republic, or something else that's a little bit before or in between, like they were doing
Mhm.
before, like Clone Wars type? And I was
Yeah.
like one of the people who said Old Republic because that's
Mhm.
3,000 years before everything, just like the video games. Let's do something like that. And then
Mhm.
I feel like Disney gave me and other people who said that proverbial slap in the face and said, fuck you, we're gonna do whatever we want. High Republic it is. And then I'm
So,
looking at the High Republic going, this is only 300 years before episode one. I don't understand what this is.
so did you think the show was as bad as everyone said it was?
I think that it was once again marketed wrong for
Mm.
the not a Star Wars fan, but for someone who has not seen Star Wars in a while
Mhm.
and who was coming in going, ooh, this is something new. This is Star Wars. But the
Mhm.
rest of us who have seen Star Wars are looking at it going, this is not Star Wars.
Mhm. So let's go to Dragon Ball. Great, one of the best franchises for anime of all
One
time.
of.
So sadly, Akira Toriyama, the person that created it, passed away earlier this year.
Yeah.
What was your first thoughts about that? How'd you
The
feel about it?
moment that I heard that, that was the moment that I heard about his last project, Dragon Ball. What was it? Daima.
Mhm.
And I was like, I'm definitely gonna go see that in his honor because that was the last project that he was working on before his death. And even he said, "This, I want everyone to see this before I die." And I remember watching Dragon Ball when I was a teenager, and I was like, "This is stupid. I don't understand it." But I came in halfway through the saga during the Frieza saga, and I didn't see anything else. And
Mhm.
then later on in life, I actually went and watched it in the correct order. I didn't watch it out of order. I watched Dragon Ball, then I watched Dragon Ball Z, and then I watched GT. And then actually, I saw Kai, which I kind of like Kai more because it kicked out the filler. Now, I'm not
Mhm.
saying there was anything wrong with Dragon Ball Z. I just didn't want to see some of the filler.
You just want to get straight to the point. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to watch the. I like the filler. I wish that they added into Z the part about the parts about Cooler, the ones about damn it, the one bad guy who Gohan had to fight alongside Piccolo and everyone while Goku was away.
Oh, Garlic Jr.
Yeah, Garlic Jr. I wanted him to have his own saga, but Kai kicked him, and I was like, why? I like this saga.
Mhm.
It was actually showing all of them having to deal with a threat when their big badass hero Goku was not there,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
also
it's
their
crazy.
other
Yeah.
big badass hero Vegeta was also gone.
The thing with the Dragon Ball community is they've always been debating on this thing with canon. So, like, the only thing that Akira Toriyama said really wasn't canon were those movies like Tree of Might, Cooler's Revenge, movies like those. He said they're basically like in their own dimension because people don't like considering GT canon for
Yeah,
anything that's like GT or Super or there's Dragon Ball Heroes that has like a short anime out there, or even Dragon Ball Daima. I just kind of consider those in their own separate timelines after Dragon Ball Z ends.
I
Personally, for
see the
me,
same. Yeah,
yeah.
I see the same. I see that the same way.
because there's no way GT can kind of be technically canon without a manga. But then again, the Dragon Ball Heroes doesn't have one either. It's that's how I've always kind of envisioned it in my head, because I basically think that anything that's not in the original manga is not technically canon. But then Super has its own manga, right? It's like, Dragon Ball fans are just they harp on that so much. Actually, it's just so like that might be the most annoying thing that people do. It's like, guys, it's not that hard. Basically, after Z ends, there's different ways the series went. It's basically just pick and choose your own poison. It's not like, oh, well, GT's not canon. Well, to be fair, would it matter anyway?
I think it would, because I mean, watching Super, then I was looking at it going, they were teasing GT also at the time, because they brought up Oob, they brought up the Black Star Dragon Balls, hinted at it a little bit, so they're still saying GT exists, but they're also not making it like blunt enough to say, y'all, GT does exist, but it's going to be different, I'm thinking, because nobody in GT mentioned having god tier powers and all that. So I think that's just a continuation of the original saga, and all of them are timelines in my mind, because if anything, whatever the history of Trunks taught me was that there are multiple timelines, and the show did confirm it, because Cell came from another timeline that was segmented off of Trunks's first encounter with everybody.
Because I'm glad you brought that point up, because there is some Dragon Ball content that I am going to start making very, very, very soon, and that's one of them too. Dragon Ball has been a multiverse for a little bit there, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's Trunks got announced and came into the show. There's been other timelines. There's even another timeline, even because originally people just thought like, oh, it's just he came from the future to a different timeline. There's apparently another timeline in those, actually. Apparently there's like 4 original timelines, actually.
I saw that video, right, that you're talking about. There's an unseen timeline that nobody has ever seen, where pretty much everyone's dead and the humanity is just living.
Yeah, Dragon Ball's been that way. There's and then when it came to like now Super, now we know it's a multiverse, but,
which is cool.
Honestly, I don't mind all the different power-ups and stuff. It's not that I just take things for what they are. I just enjoy it for what it is. On the aspect of like, okay, at a certain point, they're not going to be as strong. They did another power-up, actually. The only things that I would generally criticize is like storytelling, just certain ways certain characters have acted. Like certain characters have no screen time. Like Gohan. Like, it's weird. Gohan kind of gets a bit of love for the Buu saga, but Akira Toriyama, obviously Goku's story, he doesn't get a chance to beat Buu when he could have killed Super Buu, right?
Yeah, he could have, but he hesitated at that last moment. I did like that, because it showed like, okay, yeah, he's a Saiyan, but he's also human, and he's gonna fuck up. And then in that moment, he fucked up big time.
And then
he gave Buu that super boost.
And then in Super, he's still kind of sidelined weirdly until like the Tournament of Power, and then they kind of use him decently in it. It wasn't until like the superhero movie where like, Akira Toriyama really brought him back at the forefront. It was also weird to read that interview he had where he's like, Piccolo's my favorite character. Akira Toriyama, if Piccolo's your favorite character, why was he also sidelined? He was sidelined
a lot. And then I did not. And then something that also made I liked and disliked a superhero that you brought up, because of the controversy surrounding Beast Gohan. If you heard about that.
Yeah, I would. There was a video I saw for Dragon Ball a few weeks ago, a few months back, I think, where it was a video where he titled it. I think it was Laughing Stock Media, maybe or Kaiju Dojo. Beast Gohan is an undeserved form. I would say so.
Yeah. And the design of Beast Gohan was literally I liked and disliked the Beast Gohan, and I was like, oh, cool, it is. It's a cool new form of him, so that he can have a boost up of his own. Until I looked more closely at it and said, you literally just took Super Saiyan 2 Gohan and gave him white hair. And I looked even closer at the stuff, and then I saw, hey, you ripped this off of somebody who did something on YouTube about it. What the hell?
Yeah, so when it comes to like Gohan, I understand as a character he gets like rage amps, but to get a rage amp to the point where he is now able to fight someone like Cell Max and destroy him is crazy, because he apparently he didn't even train after the Tournament of Power. He just kind of went back to being like, oh, I'm a dad that works, which is obviously what we would all do. But
Yeah.
how did he get a power ramp so hard up to the point where that could happen? So for me, the other thing about superhero that I didn't like, and I enjoyed most of the movie, was the Cell Max thing. Because they said he wasn't even like completed. He got unlocked at like basically the imperfect form. If they're gonna do that concept, I would have just liked him going perfect Cell Max, honestly, because we know that
I honestly thought that they were just going to give us Gohan versus Cell round 2. Ding ding.
Yeah.
And then he would just like get up and say like, "Hello, Gohan. It's been a while." And then have the Cell scene playing in the background, and I was just like, "Oh shit, here we go." Instead, I got Cell Max and him just moaning, grunting, being unable to speak.
Yeah, that was my thing. I was like, wait a minute, can he like turn into perfect Cell Max by that logic? Because they said in the movie he's incomplete, and it's crazy that they could just make an incomplete character that is rivaling essentially.
That
like
also got me too, because my question, and I still didn't get an answer to it as far as I know. How the hell did they get him to imperfect? They just skipped it. They just skipped the first stage of Cell and brought him to the second stage immediately.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing in the movie, which was Dr. Hito, is his name, right? He can apparently, because superhero takes place after the Granola arc, so that would mean that he created androids that are basically like somewhere on par with like Ultra Instinct and Ultra Ego Vegeta. That's
we
crazy.
Never even saw. Yeah, and I did not like that when I heard that. Now and you brought it up again. What's that? You're doing it out of order now, because we didn't even see Ultra Ego Vegeta yet. We haven't even seen Granola yet. You're doing it out of order. Why? Why would you do it out of order? You've never done it out of order.
Yeah, and even in the manga, they skip over Broly's. It's crazy because the Broly movie to me is better than the superhero movie, and
I like Broly.
They skipped the entire Broly movie, just basically a one panel thing, to go to the superhero arc. And I was like, well, if we're gonna just stretch out the movies into the manga, why does the Broly one just get like the fucking middle finger? What are we doing here?
I actually like the Broly movie a lot, because it answered the question that a lot of people had was how would Broly go up against Goku and Vegeta as God and Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan, and the answer was he fucking wrecks them.
That was also crazy to see Gogeta come out and just kind of beat the shit out of him. I was like, oh, okay, maybe Fusion's a little bit too OP.
Fusion. That actually was really cool. How the only way they could beat Broly is if they fused, because they couldn't even beat him.
Because then they fused and got so powerful to the point where they just like started basically just beating the shit out of the newest villain. Like, you have to factor in Fusion is really strong. I can understand why they only use it when it really matters. Because like, you look at Vegito when he first appears, Vegeta was the strongest character in Dragon Ball Z, is confirmed by multiple guys and stuff like that. He just was torturing the main villain at the time, which is Buhan, right? Just destroying him. And then in the Fusion Reborn movie, Gogeta comes out, one shots the villain, shortest fight in the series. Gogeta comes out in the Broly movie, really is not even sweating fighting Broly. Actually, if that Kamehameha hits him, he's probably dead. It's like, oh my god, fuck.
I mean, I do remember when Gogeta came out, he was just having a blast. He was like, "Oh, cool! I get to fight somebody finally."
They hit each other so hard they're in different dimensions, and he's like, "What the? Yeah, they hit each other so hard they're in a different dimension."
Yeah, bro, I remember that. Broly's just looking around like, "What the?" Gogeta's just like, "Oh, cool! I get to do weird shit."
Well, I'll ask you, which fusion do you prefer, Gogeta or Vegito? I was always the Vegeta guy.
So I prefer the Gogeta one, just because the Patara it's permanent unless you're a Saiyan, like Goku and Vegeta. And then even then, if you're boosting your power to the level that they are, it's not even gonna last 30 minutes.
Oh yeah, and it was weird how they retconned it in Super, where like it can only last like 30 minutes, like you said. I
think they only did that for like Saiyans, and then not even Saiyans. It was non-deities. Only deities are the ones that it's permanent on. Everyone else, you got like an hour or like 30 minutes.
Oh, I forgot. Where even if people don't consider GT canon, even the GT when they made Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, I mean, he wasn't really even trying against.
Yeah, no, he just looked at freaking Omega Shinron and blinked his eyes, and he just flew back.
I didn't notice this as a kid, but when he punched him in the nose, I didn't. I thought that it was just his aura that did it. No, apparently Gogeta moved so fast, he just punched him in the nose, and our eyes just couldn't see it. Like, what the fuck? Like when I got older, because like, growing up, Dragon Ball Z's kind of like looked at as the anime that's like, oh, that's just the beat 'em up anime. But there was
Yeah.
actually way more to everything that it did. I just couldn't see it at the time.
I couldn't either. And I realized the more I went on, another thing that I realized was Goku was the one that I identified with when I was a kid, and the more I grew up, the more I identified with Vegeta, because he was the realist of the group.
They got you on the villain train. Now you're gonna just date a white girl and bang her out.
I don't know about that, but I will say that for me, I did like for Dragon Ball something that really captivated me was how the stakes were really high, and like I said before, then it wasn't just like your average beat 'em up because the heroes, well, they were losing like 90% of the time, and they had to use little tactics just to stay alive. And I think it really hit home when we saw the history of Trunks, which to me was one of the best movies Dragon Ball related of all time because it actually showed us what happens if they lose.
I like that one more than the Bardock one. Actually, I think the Bardock one is fine, but the Trunks one is really well put together. Honestly.
Yeah, and it was again, like I keep saying it, but it was a breath of fresh air because we're all used to seeing them revive each other with the Dragon Balls, but then it's like now you're in a world where that's not happening anymore. So now your death is permanent.
It's also crazy because the more you look at Dragon Ball growing up, you're like, wait a minute, what were people saying about it? Because like as you grow up and you watch it more, and there's better. Also, we didn't have this back then, but there's videos to break things down, and even if you just read like articles about certain stuff, not from like Screen Rant because they're trash, but like certain credible outlets when they talk about anime, like wait a minute, they did all this. Like how people get mad at Goku for giving Cell a senzu bean after he surrendered against Cell in the Cell Saga. We come to realize, if you really think about it, did that bean really do anything? Because Cell wasn't really trying against Goku anyway.
No, he wasn't. But he wanted him to fight. He wanted. I understand now why Goku actually did that because he really wanted to give Gohan his all because he knew that even if he fought him now, then Gohan wasn't going to win even still, and he needed that push. He needed which goes back to Gohan again. He always needs that push. Somebody's got to push him in order for him to unlock what's within.
It's just a rage. Like he to be fair, Toriyama, he does this. He did set up the whole rage amp thing when he was younger. Like against Raditz, he had a rage amp. Against Nappa, he did it. Did it against Raccoon. But it's just like the rage amps are so amped for him now that this motherfucker can turn into Beast Gohan. And Beast Gohan apparently might now rival Black Frieza without no training after the turn power. I don't know if it's confirmed he didn't train after turn power. I just speculated that. But
I honestly would like to see all of them go up against Goku Black again because I mean in the Super Saga they couldn't. That was the first villain they could not stop. They couldn't stop him.
That's why when you talk about a breath of fresh air, I'll be honest, man. I really enjoyed the moral arc when I read it manga wise, and even the Granola arc. Yeah, I know Granola has its problems, but like what we talk about, if you're gonna make Dragon Ball more of a balanced anime with the fight, then the villains have to be able to just kind of like throw them on their ass. Like Moro does that. Moro is, in my opinion, like the best villain they've done in the super continuity, but where it's not animated yet, or even Jiren. That's why I liked Jiren, an obstacle you just can't get past.
Yeah. I like where they're going with it because they're giving us enemies and opponents that these are our heroes, the ones that we've grown up with.
Yeah,
they can't stop as they are right now. All of their training is not enough still.
Yeah, Moro made it so they had to go back to the drawing board about how they even train, and not even just train. They had to do it a different way. Vegeta had to go master like his mind and how he really moves. Like Vegeta, spoiler alert, in the Moro arc, even learns how to do instant transmission. Moro beats them so hard when they first meet him that they have to rethink how they even fight. Like people, it might be a big anime, but you're not. Also, when people say you're not paying attention, there is stuff there that they're setting up. You're just like not seeing it. People
I try to get my folks into Dragon Ball because I'm just like, this isn't your average beat 'em up anime show, dude. They're literally throughout the entire saga, the entire franchise. their fighting style has to change, their tactics need to change, their power ups need to change. Their power ups might be enough. They gotta get stronger. Even so, as sometimes them just being on the outside world, not enough. We gotta go into the room of require. I said almost said room of requirement, but the the what was the name of the room that they
Hyperbolic time
executed?
chamber.
Yeah, they have to go into the hyperbolic time chamber. They have to go into that because they didn't have enough time. And it gives them massive boosts. And I wish they used that more instead of just here and there. And it made sense when they were fighting Cell, but even then, it still wasn't enough.
Yeah, or even because people always said Goku always won everything. I
No, it did.
mean,
Yeah,
that's
no, it
also
didn't.
not true. The Cell Saga wins no fights. Out of the 2 that he participates in, he wins no fights. Actually, technically
Yeah.
3. Cell Jr. one I don't really count technically because he wasn't really at full power, but
I think that out of all of them at that time, before even Gohan snapped, the strongest out of them all was Trunks. Except
Trunks
that
was
Trunks
powerful. Yeah.
could not control his, because he wasn't listening to what Vegeta and Goku were saying. That he became all bulky and strong. It looked menacing, but he wasn't strong enough. And well, he was strong enough, but he just couldn't move because his bulky muscles.
Tony says, I'm still contemplating on it. The only reason why it's not about Akira Time or anything. It's more like I'm already invested in the super continuity. Like the only reason why that I was generally mad that they announced that was because I didn't like it. It was more like, why are we getting this when this isn't even finished yet? Like, shouldn't we be finishing this up first before we get something new? I'm all for like new Dragon Ball stuff, but it's like, let's not get into like the DC route of like announcing something, halfway doing it, and then doing something else to kind of gauge interest. Like Dragon Ball doesn't need to do that. Dragon Ball could just kind of just finish what it's doing, has enough interest, enough fans that'll watch it, and then do something else. But I do
think
plan
that
on
what they
watching
were
it.
trying to do. Oh, sorry. I think what they were trying to do was we're not done yet, but here's something that people might like. While
Cheating.
we're doing that, while we're still doing finishing touches on the next season of Dragon Ball Super, and then something else to get people's attention away from it is Sparkling Zero.
You're right. Are you going to play that actually?
I unfortunately will not be able to just yet because I had to choose between Space Marines 2 and Dragon Ball Sparkling Zero, and I chose Space Marines 2.
How could you? How could you?
It was
You
my
betrayed
first,
us.
and I'm actually, and literally, I'm still streaming it. I'm going to be streaming it after this because I enjoy it. It really is fun. It is my first Warhammer 40K game, and I'm
Oh no,
really
no.
enjoying it.
It's nothing to do with the new characters. I don't have a problem with that at all. It's just I'm a guy, right? Bad OCD where I like to finish something first and then I gotta start something different. You know, that's nothing to do with characters. I wouldn't mind them. Okay, so the kid thing is kind of weird, but Akira Toriyama, he did like doing Dragon Ball a lot, so I understand why he was a kid. Like people factor in GT, the reason why he was a kid, apparently from what I've heard, was that they were trying to tackle the demographic of kids at that time with Goku being a kid so they could relate to him, which is obviously makes no sense because you could just relate to Goku as his old guy anyway. If you want to go see him as a kid, just watch Dragon Ball, right? So like my only real problem is turning the characters back to kids. I've just never understood that fascination he has with that. Because if they want to go watch them younger, they could just go watch them younger. The series is right there. You know?
I actually didn't think about that until you said it. The kid thing. What if in the movie they do another wish just like they did in GT, where they wish everyone to be young again?
Oh no! Oh god! That's what they should do is basically now since Kuritoma's gone, if they really want to do Dragon Ball GT, they could just make a Dragon Ball GT sequel and then be like, "Hey, that didn't count. This is the real Grand Tour. Don't do that."
Yeah, but I still want to see a GT because I still feel like even though we got like Super Saiyan Blue, and that's the strongest Super Saiyan form. No, that's the strongest God form. The strongest Super Saiyan form in my eyes, still to this day, is Super Saiyan 4.
Yeah, for me, it's if Goku's a kid, it's just kind of I don't mind it, but it's just like, well, I've seen him as a kid before. Can he just be an adult? To be fair, he is kind of like a kid in an adult's body for most instances. It's just
kind of, yeah.
yeah. And for me, on a power scaling level, when you think about that, isn't he weaker if he's a kid? It would have to be. Just
I don't know because even I go back to GT. Even when he was a kid, he could still hold his own. and he
Yeah,
still had the
yeah.
powers of a Super Saiyan. He could even go Super Saiyan 3. Okay, now he couldn't hold it, but he was able to use it until he got his tail back, and then he was able to hold the form more fully. But he was still
Well,
holding his own, like, outright, still
the other thing I'll
outpacing everybody.
the other thing I'll ask you is you have all the current game systems, right? You have a Switch, PS5, and Xbox Series X, right?
I got a PS5, Xbox Series X, and PC.
PC. Okay. So, we have all this gaming controversy going on.
Ooh, yes, I've heard about that.
Oh god. There's too many. Let's just start with one of them. Or not a controversy. Let's start it this way.
The
Why do you
war,
think why do you
the good
think
old console war.
well, to be fair, it's not a war if the companies are killing themselves.
Oh no!
Especially Concord. Nothing kills Concord because Sony already did. Oh, anytime.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
that thing!
Anytime I
I'm
can hit the
still surprised
Concord
that thing
joke, I will.
lasted two. That thing didn't even last a month. It lasted 2 weeks.
Like, anytime I could just make Concord jokes, I'm always going to slide them in. So I'll ask you this. Why do you think people haven't been buying, like, console games? Because, there's been reports of record low console selling games. Why do you think that is?
The digital push
Mm-hmm.
is still going strong, really. And I think that a lot more people are swapping to PC, swapping to things like Steam and the Stream Deck.
Mm-hmm.
But simultaneously, I think that people just really are doing other things, or starting to, and or they're going the digital route, and they're not going to the stores to buy the feel the copies themselves that you like hold in your hand. Like when you were once a kid, I did it before. Bought that
Mm-hmm.
new game. I'm driving home and I'm
Yeah.
just reading the box and all that.
Yeah.
There's no point in doing that anymore if you just go onto your console and click, click, click. Hey, I just bought the newest game and I
Yeah. I
can
remember
play it
just
already.
reading the games box. Oh god.
Yeah.
That's how you knew life was different back then.
Or then now is I could, if I have, like, for example, Xbox Game Pass, I pre-download the game already and then I get to play it day one.
Yeah, even pre-ordering or the midnight. I don't know if you guys still have this in your area, but I don't really see anybody getting hyped for like midnight releases anymore. It used to be a big
I I still did when God
thing.
of War Ragnarok was first came out. Then I actually bought it's right behind me. I was one of the people who bought the collector's edition when it first dropped. I was one of the lucky few to get it before the scalpers did, and I went to the midnight release, and people were there. The GameStop that I went to was still packed. It had like quite a few people, and we were all just chatting and all of that. So I don't think it's dead. I think it's just only the hardcore gamers are gonna go to that, and it's really just a factor of, or a matter of, who's a hardcore gamer in your area who's gonna go to that.
Yeah, it also depends on title as well. Like no one's gonna be in a midnight release for like a fucking I don't know, like an Animal Crossing game. It's probably not gonna be.
Well, I know some people who might disagree, but
Oh no,
it's their own.
it was crazy. Animal Crossing used to be the biggest game for women. It probably still is. Women love playing Animal Crossing.
I
Tony,
actually
Tony.
liked Animal Crossing too, so I mean,
Oh my god, you're one of them now. I
but
hate it.
not to
Now you're a furry.
like the extent that other people did, because I just, like I said, I always say every single time I'm streaming, I play a lot of games, MMO, RPGs, campaign games, battle royales. So there's a lot for me to pick from, and Animal Crossing is not making that cut. I'm sorry.
So for me, because I have a Switch, and I was gonna pick between an Xbox Series X or a PS5 when I pay off this other big PayPal Pay in 4 thing. I think I just might go with the Xbox. I just like the controller more, honestly. But then
I
again, the PlayStation. The only reason why I would choose that one is because they have the Marvel video games. Actually, that's it.
a lot of them are on there, but and Guardians of the Galaxy, as well as Marvel's Avengers, are on Xbox as well. The reason
Right? Huh?
I got the Xbox Series X first because
Mm,
I was Xbox from the very start. Like I said, I played Halo, and Halo was Xbox console
yeah.
exclusive only.
True. Yeah.
And then I got my PS5 because I was like, I want to play some of the Sony exclusives. Now I kind of dipped back into the console wars, say controversy, because they're all button heads, and it's like, oh, we got our exclusives, and then people
Yeah.
are saying, well, we want. One of the big ones for me was people trying to tell 343 to give Halo over to Bungie, and one of the things I say is, but Bungie is owned by Sony. If you do that, then Halo becomes a Sony exclusive because we all
Yes.
know Sony likes their exclusives and they want to make everything exclusive.
Yeah, and the problem with that, man, is that people gotta understand. Just recently, Square Enix, who does Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy, literally is not going to be exclusive to Sony anymore. You
Yeah.
know, I and Starfield was announced a while ago to not be a Xbox exclusive. Like, I don't think exclusives were always like they are a big thing for them. Console, don't get me wrong, they are.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at something like the Wii U at one point had as many exclusives as like the PS5, and
I
there
still
was a
have
post
some
about
friends
that.
who have that thing.
But and then there was the post, and then the other caption for what that guy tweeted was, well, Wii U never really sold as good because at the end of the day, I don't think consoles make or break a console selling. I do at one point think if one of the a biggest part of the fans they just gravitate to which one, honestly, because like most people can just get both consoles and play both, but there are those diehard PlayStation fans out there. I've been part of some of the groups. They're insane. These console games are actually mentally deranged, honestly.
Oh man.
That's the problem with gaming. I was always someone growing up where I just liked all three. I liked Nintendo, I liked PlayStation, I liked Xbox. My first ever Xbox system was Xbox 360. I mostly had Nintendo and PlayStation stuff growing up. I'll be honest here, for anyone who knows this about me, the era for GameCube, PS2, original Xbox 360, PS3, Wii, that is to me the best eras of gaming ever made.
There was a Instagram that you just reminded me of where they actually said that, and they started off with the Avatar phrase. Long ago, the four nations lived together in harmony, and it was all of them side by side. And I remember that age, and I was like, "What changed? Now we're all at each other's throats on gaming consoles. We all got our favorites. Then we got the Xbox versus PS5 crew. Then we got the people who are on the Switch side just going like, I don't even want to pick a side." And then we got the other gamers, the PC gamers going, we're all going to get all the games eventually.
Yeah, because that's the thing is recently, did you see that story that the guy that runs Sony's PlayStation department, he basically put out a statement that said they want PC gamers to buy a console, which is the PS5 that they have. Now, the problem with that is if their games are just going to be on like PC as well. So like, this is why these people are like literally out of touch. If you have a PC, and I have a PC, and we like PlayStation, and they release their PlayStation titles on Steam, and they want us to buy a PS5. Okay, people got to follow my logic here. Why are you getting a PS5 if you have a PC and you can just buy it right then and there? Unless you literally just want the physical version, which I wouldn't doubt you, which I wouldn't harp on you for, and I would understand that. But it's like, why would I buy a PS5 if I could just get your first party titles right there and my PC's up to date and very good?
Exactly.
There's no reason to, unless either you're getting because you like physical media, which I do myself, or you want to watch like some movies on your PS5, which you could just watch movies on your computer. Like if you already have a PC, you're going out of your way to getting a PS5, and that's more like something that you may or not need, depending on what kind of computer you even have.
I noticed that a lot of have you noticed that all of these new consoles, even the Xbox Series X and PS5 that I have, they're all acting like PCs now.
Yeah.
All of them. So it's there's going to be a time, I think, in the future when there's just going to be the console.
Yeah, that's what I thought a long time ago as well, and it might come true even sooner than ever now, because they're going to eventually upgrade them enough to the point where it's like, well, what do you really, like, how far of further innovation can the consoles go? Because like Nintendo is still selling the Switch like hotcakes. The OLED version, regular base version, even the light version.
Don't even get me started on that. I got so many people trying to tell me, I need to get a Switch, Blaze. Get yourself a Switch, Blaze. It'll be so cool. Play some games with us. Play some of those Mario Kart. And I'm like, God damn it, man, I already got enough as it is.
You could be a Switch bro. Join me and we could be Switch bros.
Oh my gosh, you too.
Get it, Mario Bros. Switch. Nope. Sorry, it was a corny joke. Like for like a PS5, like. The recent news, you saw the recent news for the PS4 Pro, right? You saw when they announced that. One of their specs, that's a perk, was that it was backwards compatible with like 8,000 games. Okay, Sony, cool. And the other one that blew my mind, Wi-Fi support. Guys, I'm not shitting you. One of their They're like, this console's Wi-Fi supported. I was like, you don't say. In
I
2024,
I
your
looked at
console's
it when
Wi-Fi
they said that,
supported.
and I was like, and you didn't have this at start because now you want us to go buy another console that has this one little feature, and you're selling it for how much again? What was it?
Yeah,
$800?
yeah, $700. And if you want to play physical, because people kept pairing this around, it's like technically true, not true. You can play physical media on the PS5 Pro. You just have to buy their physical media case for an extra $80. They don't even give you the plastic stand.
I mean,
You
I'll
know,
only say that when I heard them say that price, then I just like
you're just like,
I burst out laughing, and I was like, this is a nice like April Fool's prank, but it's not April Fool's. You're joking, right? And they
yeah,
were saying that it's serious, and I'm just like, there's no fucking way I'm gonna pay $800 for a console
yeah.
for retail price, because once the scalpers get their hands on it, yeah, they're still, and I'm just like, yeah, they're still around. This thing's gonna be $2,000 fucking.
Well, that's the thing is, like, you have a PS5 right now. What would be the reason of getting a PS5 Pro? Like, what's
For
the
me, it was
general reason?
the console exclusives. I wanted to play
Yeah,
God of War. I wanted to play God of War Ragnarok and get my hands on
yeah.
that.
And then your base
And yeah,
PS5 can already do that, right? So having a
mhm.
PS5 Pro adds nothing, right? Because you already have a PS5 that can do all that.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
why would you spend an extra $800 for this PS5 Pro that has better ray tracing? Oh my god, I can see a skyscraper and more higher. It's like, that doesn't
I
fucking
can see
matter to
that
me.
in right now in what I'm playing. What do I need? That's what exactly what I said to myself. I looked at my feed and I saw that, and people are asking me, and I was like, when they asked me if I'm gonna buy that, and I said no, and they said why not? They said you can upgrade, and I'm just like, I have a PS5 right here, and it's great. I love it. It's the first gen. Why would I want to get anything else?
Yeah, that's
Why do I need another one?
it reminds me of those people that would like usually Apple fans. They're like, well, I got to get the newest phone, and usually whenever they get like the newest phone or like a new iPad or whatever new thing that gets made for Apple,
Yeah,
it's very minimal of an upgrade you're getting. Usually, if I'm getting something that's an upgrade after a while, then the next thing I get is something significantly better than what I had. At
exactly.
this point, if you buy a PS5 Pro, other than like, I guess you could say you're flexing on people, which I guess if you
You
have
mean
to be
like
fair, yeah,
the one that they're trying to do with the PS5 like Pro or Slim that looks like the PlayStation 1 that they're trying
yeah,
to push?
that is not a bad idea. I like that because that right there is something. Oh, it's a little bit of a throwback to their anniversary. But the
Yeah, and I'm not
PS5
gonna lie, I
the
like it
PS5
too.
Pro is just, well, what is that supposed to be? Like, is that supposed to be just like, hey, give me an extra $800 for like a minimal upgrade? Like, I'll be honest, you're getting a legit minimum upgrade. Your PS5 guys, right? If you have one right now, it's fine. Don't let them commit. Don't convince you. It's fine. Okay, you can play everything you do right now on it is good, right? Because
Yeah.
remember, Spider-Man 2, they pushed Spider-Man 2 for a while.
Mm.
Nothing heard out of them after this. No DLCs like for the Insomniac one. Nothing. You know,
It was perfect.
like I don't know what's gonna happen with console gaming. I mean, I love gaming. I truly do. I just hope it's gonna be around in some capacity with physical media attached to it for a couple years, for more years down the road. But I would probably get an Xbox Series X first if I had to decide on it because I'm an Xbox bro. No, I'm just kidding.
There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, people gave me crap and about me getting a PS5. They're like, "Oh, you're a traitor. You're an Xbox stand. Why aren't you standing with us?" And I'm like, "I am still standing with you. I just want to play these things that aren't on an Xbox or a PC yet."
Yeah, the other thing people don't understand is why can't you just I'm someone that just likes all of them. Like they each have their own individual use for me. You would just have to
Yeah,
obviously save up for them, But I wouldn't mind having a PS5 after I get the Xbox. No reason why I
yeah.
shouldn't. Like, why would I handicap
Nothing wrong with it.
myself? And well, this system has these games. Well, I thought to myself, wait a minute, if I'm only getting the PS5 for those Marvel games, I'll just get a PS5 then and play them later on,
Yeah,
And
and for me, there was no point because like I saw, they're already on Xbox. Marvel's
yeah,
Avengers is on both consoles. Marvel's
and
Guardians of the Galaxy is on both consoles. Midnight Suns is on both consoles.
and do you know what's not on both consoles? Concord, because it's
Uh,
fucking dead.
I go
Actually,
again and say I was interested. I was really curious to see could I actually someone was going to give me a code to try the game. for PC. And then I'm glad I didn't get it. Unfortunately, if you're the one who was trying to give it to me, I'm sorry. I really was looking forward to it. My
They
PC
sure
wasn't
can't give it
ready,
to you now.
but
That shit's dead.
damn, that thing didn't even last 2 weeks, and they shut it down already. And I was like, I was sitting there and I was like thinking to myself, when's the last time this happened to a game? It didn't even last 2 weeks.
Oh God! But yeah, you're right. For most
that-
games, they'll
yeah.
just like die out. Like, like
That's a
people just
lot of
talk
games
about them.
nowadays.
You're right.
Has
Yeah.
anyone else noticed that? Like, there's
Dude, with Spider-Man
people.
2. It happened with
Yeah.
Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 was supposed to be the biggest thing they released this year. It came out and then it just fizzled away.
Flatline.
Yeah, just flatline Spider-Man. That's bad. People are saying Spider-Man flatlines for Sony in terms of the PS5. That's not good. That's very bad. It just literally went out of the conversation. No one mentions it anymore. They're like, oh yeah. Actually, I like the first one better. Oh hell. Oh no. No. It's that random sequel no one cares about.
I see it happening with a lot of games, and I think that unfortunately, I point the finger almost back at the community in a way, because there's a split going on in our own gaming community, and I don't know where this came from. A perfect example I kind of use is Halo Infinite. There was one side that wanted it to continue with Halo 5, even though it was kind of garbo, but the more I played it, the more I understood where they were going with Halo 5. And then there was the group that decided that they wanted to do Halo 1, 2, and 3 forever stands, which there's nothing wrong with that, but that's all they focused on. And they didn't see any other game as existing. And then they split the community down the middle, and then they made Halo Infinite throw all of everything they did away to please the Halo 1, 2, and 3 people, and they still didn't like it.
The other thing to mention is for gaming now, just if you have a PS4, if people didn't want to upgrade to PS5, they're still releasing new titles on a PS4. You guys remember that, right?
Yeah,
like some of the PS4 titles are still getting released on the PS5. So it's like, let's say you have a PS4. Let's say you do. Why get a PS5 if they're still releasing new games on that? So if they want people to move to the new consoles, both Xbox, both Microsoft and Sony, being honest, you're going to probably have to start releasing titles on the previous ones because you're not giving the consumer the reason to go buy your newest one. Like, why would, yes, the absolute newest stuff they want on some of the newest consoles will be there. But have you seen it recently? They've been releasing the same new games on the other ones. So why is that?
They've been releasing them they've been releasing them on old gen and new gen, but I'm starting to see now they're starting to wheedle it back a little bit, and it's starting. The domino effect is starting. They're starting to wheedle it back and say no more you're not going to be on the old gen. You're just new gen only. So I think the time is coming it's slowly starting. Xbox turned off their Xbox Live for 360.
True.
And say it was PlayStation, and I think that the time is coming. Gotta go get that new console. They're gonna eventually turn off the online features for some of these things.
All right, and to wrap things up here in a little bit, the first thing I'll ask you, man, it was great to have you on for the first time. First things first, which is, do you have anything planned coming up that you would like to let the audience know about?
I'm just still streaming, still going strong, and I'm just looking forward to playing some more games and having everyone force me to play campaign games on hard mode difficulty, which is fun. But I mean, that was actually why I wanted to buy the PlayStation 5, because I wanted to play God of War on Give Me God of War difficulty. And I died. I took 2 hours dying to the dredge at the very freaking start because I didn't know how to play a PlayStation 5 yet.
God, man, what are we gonna do with you? Good Lord, man.
But it was
convince you.
It was the challenge, and by the end of it, then I was going up against the freaking all of the big baddies, and I was kicking their fucking ass, and it was fun. And for my plans, then just keep gaming, going strong. See what happens. Building a community of like-minded gamers who just want to chill, hang out, and have gaming as a safe space of sorts.
And the last thing I'll ask you is there any shout outs you want to give to anyone in particular, and anything else you want to say before we end right here?
I'm definitely gonna give a shout out to the one and only Mags because she pointed me over to this community, and I'm also gonna give a shout out to the Writer Bros because they pointed me to to Mags, and Mags
All right.
pointed me to you,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't have like interacted with anybody if it wasn't for her and him.
Hell yeah, man. So just want to say thank you guys for checking out this episode of the MSK show. Like I had mentioned in the beginning part of the show, this is going to be the segment for the one-on-ones for obviously when it comes to the indie creators, such as like writers or authors or artists. This is also going to be the same vein and what the show will be and what it is titled. And yeah, this was the first appearance of Draken Blaze Gaming. It was awesome. Glad you could be here, man, for the first time. You were my 54th choice.
Neat. As long as I got to be a choice, then that's all that matters to me.
You're like,
Honestly, I'm
at least I got picked, I guess.
well, I mean, it's not to me. It's not like about being picked. It's just the fact of I get to be on. I actually get to speak my mind about stuff. Cool. Who does that nowadays without like someone trying to cram something down your throat?
Oh, yeah, my wife tried to cram something down my throat. Oh, well, can't go into that right now. So, thank you guys for checking out this episode of the MSK show, and we'll see you guys later.